What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another Euro 2024 fantasy video. In this one, it's my team selection for the round of 16. So I'm going to show you my unlimited transfers team, talk about captains, and show you how I did in match day 3. This video has been sponsored by UEFA. You can play their Euro 2024 knockout bracket game now. Links in the description and more to come on that later. All right, let's start with how I did in match day 3. And it started off pretty well, but then kind of went downhill and never recovered. I finished on 58 points total, which takes me to 192 for the group stages as a whole, and I'm just inside the top 50k. So the overall rank has improved, but it's still not quite where I'd like it to be. So started off by a last-minute change. Instead of having 2 Germany midfielders, I actually went with just Mittelstadt from Germany, because although they had to get a result from the game to win the group, I thought they might rest players or they might come off a little bit earlier. So we knew obviously the lineups, but I still thought the likes of Gundogan, Musiala, etc. might come off early. So I got rid of both of them and went with Ericsson, who finished on 7, and Szoboszlai, who finished on 4. And on the first day, Szoboszlai was my captain against Scotland. Didn't get a big score, but 4 was still a little bit better than most of the Germany midfielders. I then twisted captaincy to Grimaldo, and he got 8 points, which is a pretty decent return on the second day. I also had the double up on Spain defence with Navas, who finished on 7. But then I twisted captaincy again to, I'm just going to double check, to Mbappe, who obviously got the 1 goal against Poland, finished on 6 points. That didn't feel like enough, so I twisted again on the final day to Lukaku instead of De Bruyne, and he blanked. So I had Szoboszlai 4 points, Grimaldo 8, Mbappe 6, all better than Lukaku, but Lukaku is where I ended up. But I would always do that again. I just didn't feel like any of those scores were high enough. I'm sure some people got the 8 from Grimaldo and just stuck. It's just not how I wanted to play. Elsewhere, I had triple England again. I should have known to go for double defence instead of double attack the way that we've been playing. So Pickford got 6 points, Bellingham only 3, and Harry Kane 2. Koundé and Hernandez for France both blank. They didn't get a clean sheet, but they finished on 4 and 3 points respectively. Overall, it just wasn't a great week. There wasn't enough goals and assists in there, really. Good few clean sheets from England and Spain, but that was about it. And I was never going to twist from Pickford to Casteels. Casteels did finish on 7 instead of the 6 that Pickford got. But once you've got a clean sheet from your goalkeeper, there is no reason to twist. The upside is just not there. So it was an okay week. Definitely could have gone better. Let's hope the good performances from my fantasy team start in the round of 16, and we'll take a look at that team in just a sec. So I'm happy to say that this video has been sponsored by UEFA, and there is still time to play their Euro 2024 knockout bracket game, where all you have to do is pick the winner of each tie and plot your route to the final. The deadline is when the round of 16 starts, so 5 PM UK time on the 29th of June, and all you have to do to play is click that link in the description below. So as we know, football matches don't always go to plan, but there are a lot of heavy favourites in the round of 16, so I'm going to put Spain, Germany and Portugal to all get through to the quarterfinals. I think France are one of the teams that will improve now we're through to the knockout stages, so they will beat Belgium. Netherlands to beat Romania, Austria to go through against Turkey, who have been impressive so far, and then England to beat Slovakia. I think the hardest tie to call is probably Switzerland versus Italy, and I'm going to give it to Switzerland. Now, England have not been great in the group so far. I'm hoping the knockout stages is the time where they kickstart their campaign to get through to the final. There's a little bit of bias there as well, so I'm going to put them through against Switzerland. So England get into the semi-finals to play one of Netherlands or Austria. Austria have already beaten Netherlands in the groups. Can they do it again? I think they will, so I'm going to put them through as well. Portugal versus France is tough. I just think Mbappe will end up being the difference maker there. And then Spain versus Germany. Germany the host, but Spain the only team to get 9 points in the groups. And they look very good going forward in particular. So I'm going to give it to Spain. I'm then going to put Spain through against France in the semis. And I've got to put England and trust in them to beat Austria. A Spain versus England final. I know it's going to be disappointment, so I'm going to put Spain, even though I really want to click England instead. If you think you can beat my predictions, just click that link in the description below and get playing before the deadline on the 29th of June at 5 PM UK time. So let's take a look at my team for the round of 16, starting with the defensive players, and also remembering that we've got unlimited transfers for this round of games. And I've also still got my wild card to play. Now, the original plan was to play that in the quarterfinals, which I'll probably still end up doing, especially if there's any upsets in the round of 16. But there is a chance that when we get to the quarterfinals, this team will still look pretty good. And if it does, because of some of those potential tough matchups to call, like Spain versus Germany, France versus Portugal, I may end up using the wildcard in the semi-finals. Not a guarantee, but it is something that's crossed my mind. If I can get a good team out in the quarterfinals with just 3 transfers and everything goes well in terms of the teams that advance, I may not need to use the wildcard. But let's see how the round of 16 goes first. I've gone for a double up on both England and Spain defences. England have been, I mean, most people would say pretty terrible so far, and I would have to agree. Overall, they've not played well, but they've barely given up any chance. I think they've conceded something like 1.15 expected goals across all 3 games, and the only goal they conceded against Denmark was a really long-range shot. So I still back the England defence, and obviously they've been very fortunate with the bracket that they're in, and getting to play against Slovakia, I've got to go for Pickford and Gay. And Gay is just really good value, decent for ball recoveries as well. And then Spain have been impressive. They've also got a really good fixture against Georgia, who obviously put in a decent performance against Portugal to get through to this round. But that being said, Spain are the stronger team, and you would expect them to win this game. And I would not be surprised if they got a clean sheet. So I've gone for both their fullbacks in Carvajal and Cucurella. Even though the budget has gone up to 105 million, I've still had to make some savings in certain places, and Mittelstadt just feels like too good value to turn down. I think Germany have actually got one of the more tough games in the round of 16, but they are still stronger than Denmark, and you would expect them to advance. So Mittelstadt at 4 million is in. And then my final defender is Cancelo, who didn't play in the 3rd group game, hasn't got an attack and return yet, but he is the kind of player that can deliver. And Portugal have got a really solid fixture in Slovenia, so he is in too. And I think with that extra budget to spend, 105 million now, Cancelo was able to be fit in. I think in the group stages, I've had to kind of cut corners in more places, and I've not usually had him in, but he kind of fits in quite nicely. And also, the fact that you can get Mittelstadt from Germany for 4 million, Gay from England for 4.5, and Cucurella from Spain for 4.5, it does mean more money can be spent elsewhere. So I think that looks pretty solid. My other goalkeeper after Pickford is Costa from Portugal as well against Slovenia. So I've got the double up on not only England, Spain, but also the Portuguese defence. Hopefully I won't need to sub Costa in, but I think that looks pretty strong. I did consider, I've actually got 0.5 million in the bank, but if I needed to save some money, there's also Verbruggen as an option as well. And the thing I like about him is Netherlands play on the final day. And the final day fixtures on Tuesday the 2nd, if I just bring this up a second, on Tuesday the 2nd of July, are Romania versus Netherlands and Austria versus Turkey. Now, I haven't got a huge amount of players from either of those teams, so Verbruggen would provide a very boring but credible, I guess, captaincy option. If you've got stuck all the way to the final day, you could include someone like that. But I just think Pickford and Costa, if I've got the money, is probably a better way to do it. And also, I don't really want to rely on a goalkeeper on the final day unless I absolutely have to. So I think that looks pretty good. The only other defenders that maybe I would consider are like Italy versus, I just think they'll both score in that game. I've covered Germany, England, and Spain. France versus Belgium, I just think France are also one of the teams that got a bit of a tougher matchup. I do expect France to go through, but I could see Belgium score, and I've got Portuguese defence. Then it's just really Netherlands, maybe like a Van Dijk. Like instead of a Verbruggen, if you wanted a defender to captain on the final day, you could go for him. And maybe I could put him in instead of Cancelo. But I think unless I need that captaincy option, I think Cancelo is probably the slightly better pick. So ultimately, I've picked defenders from the strongest teams with the strongest matchups going into the round of 16. And also, there's such good value. I think it just looks pretty good. So moving on to midfield, my third Spanish player is Nico Williams. Really good value at just €7 million. And as much as Georgia getting through to the round of 16 is a great story, I can't see anything but a kind of 2-3, maybe even a 4-0 Spain win. And so I've got to back them. That's why I've gone for the triple up. And Williams didn't play in the 3rd group game either, and hasn't actually got an attack and return yet. But I think we can all see from the way he's played so far, it's only a matter of time until that happens. As always, when I play these international tournament games, I've got to have the maximum amount of England players. So Saka is my midfielder of choice right now. I'm not sure whether that will stick. I think from the 3 midfielders or the 3 attacking midfielders that we've seen start every game so far, Foden, Bellingham and Saka, Saka has been the most threatening, but he also keeps getting subbed early. If I look at his minutes so far, it was 76 minutes in the first game, 69 in the second, and 71 in the third group game against Slovenia. So Southgate has been happy to sub him. My suspicions are that Saka's not completely fit, but we haven't heard anything about that. But also in the last group game, when Palmer came on, he was really good. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Saka get subbed early again in the round of 16 match. But I just think he's been better than both Foden and Bellingham. It is slim pickings. England in attack have just not been great whatsoever. But I just think with Bellingham, you get the minutes, and we've already seen him score. So I might switch to Bellingham. Foden's gone back to the UK, but he should be back ready for that game on Sunday. So I would expect him to start. It might be Anthony Gordon. People have been calling for that. But I think if Foden's back in good time and fit and available to play, he will just start again. So right now I've got Saka, but I might change to Bellingham for the minutes because I don't think he's been subbed off at all so far. And then Gundogan's in because I need a captain on that first day. Right, so it's something we've got to think about. You need a captain from either Switzerland, Italy, Denmark, or Germany. And I think if there's a chance I want to maybe save my wild card to the quarterfinals, I would expect Germany to go through. So I might as well back them over Denmark. And Gundogan just makes a lot of sense. His minutes have been really good so far. Playing in that advanced 10 position, probably on penalties as well. I just think he has to be the captain for that first day. I mean, I could go for Mittelstadt instead and go for a different midfielder. I just think Gundogan's really good value at that 7 million price point. On the bench, I've gone for Fernandes. I think he has got more to offer. Slovenia is a good fixture. And I've also got Baumgartner from Austria because he is my final day captain. If I get that far and I feel like I want to twist again, I haven't got a good score, then him against, Turkey is probably where I'd prefer to go. I could go for a Netherlands attacker like Gakpo, or maybe Memphis Depay. The problem is, I'm just going to double check this. Yeah, they're both listed as forwards. And as has been the case the whole way through this game so far, the forward spots are always reserved for those more premium attackers, which so far have not delivered. But at some point you would expect that to happen. I just don't think I can use a spot on a Netherlands forward. I think I'm more likely to go Van Dijk instead of Cancelo, or possibly put Verbruggen in as my other goalkeeper. But for now, I think Austria have, let me get my words out here, have impressed in the group stages. Obviously finished top of that group with France and Netherlands in it. And Turkey got through, and that they won't be an easy game, but Austria will be the favourites. And either Baumgartner or Sabitzer are probably the two attackers to look at. So I'm just going to go for Baumgartner there. If I didn't need that captain for the final day, I'd probably just look somewhere else. But I think he's a decent option against Turkey. So solid looking side so far. Quick look at the forwards now. So as it stands, the three I've got up front are Ronaldo against Slovenia, Kane versus Slovakia, and then Mbappe versus Belgium. And none of those three players have really impressed throughout the group stages. I appreciate that Mbappe was injured for one of the games, but there's not been a huge amount of returns from any of them, especially considering they cost so much money. And yet I don't think there's too many better options for the round of 16 unlimited transfers team. The only other player that I think I'm considering is Morata for Spain, just because of the fixture they have against Georgia. But I'm not sure which one of these three I would drop. My instinct is I should drop Ronaldo, but then he's got a better fixture than Mbappe. And could Belgium put up a bit of a fight against France? Potentially. But then if I get through to the quarterfinals and don't want to use a chip, I'd probably rather have Mbappe against Portugal than Ronaldo against France. And obviously, if Morata gets through to the next round, it's probably going to be against Germany, which is not that much tougher. So he would mostly be in for this round. Now, maybe I should stop thinking about saving my wildcard because I'll probably use it in the quarterfinals, but it is in the back of my mind. So Morata's really the only other one I'm looking at. Like, if you look at the strikers from the other teams, I don't think I want anyone from Italy or Switzerland. I'm not going to go for Højlund for Denmark. He's probably going to get knocked out. There's talk that Füllkrug might start for Germany. And I do like him as a big differential. But then even if he does start, right, will he definitely start in the quarterfinals? You know, if I'm not using my wild card. And even if he does, it's against Spain. Right? And I just don't think Füllkrug is better than Mbappe, Ronaldo or Kane, despite how poor they might have been so far. I'm not going to go for Slovakia or Georgian forwards. And I'm not going to go for Lukaku because I think France is a tough game for them. And then you've only got Slovenia, Romania, Austria, and Turkey, apart from the Netherlands. And obviously, I already spoke about Gakpo and Depay. I just don't think they're better. So I think I've said this throughout the tournament and kind of before it started. You've got to be careful with using small sample sizes to make your picks, and just you don't want to look at the group stage and say, well, Ronaldo, Kane, and Mbappe haven't been very good, so I'm just going to go for none of them, because eventually they will start firing. Who's the most likely out of those? Probably Mbappe, but then he's got the tougher fixture. But I just think when you look at it all round, and also the fact that I don't feel like I'm missing out elsewhere. That's another reason just to include these three players. Like, even if I dropped one down to like a 7.5 million Depay, where am I using that money? I feel like I've backed solid defences with good value players. Midfielders look pretty decent as well. I've got 0.5 in the bank even that I've not yet spent. There's just no need to save that money. So Morata, just because he's playing Georgia and having 4 Spain players, looks pretty good. But I quite like those forwards that I've picked. So I've got 4 from England, which I'm always going to do. 3 from Spain. It's actually 4 from Portugal as well, actually. Costa, Fernandes, Cancelo, and Ronaldo. 1 French player, 2 Germans, and an Austrian in Baumgartner. So I think that looks pretty solid. I really don't think there's a huge amount of question marks over most of those picks. Obviously, people have got preferences. You may have gone a slightly different way. But I think in their own right, most of those players are pretty good options. And actually, the 105 million budget has been pretty easy to put a team together just because of those good value defenders. So let me know in the comments below what you think of that team, what you would change. Don't forget to play the UEFA Euro 2024 knockout bracket game. Links in the descriptions for that. I'm going to try and get a final thoughts video out for you tomorrow. Obviously, the deadline is 5 o'clock UK time on Saturday. So if I can get that in the morning, that should still be useful. And then we've got the normal content to come for the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and the final as well. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you again soon.